Alright, what the fuck is up, you fucking idiots? So, today, if you couldn't tell by the title of this terrible video, this is Jaguar guide, specifically fucking singular point Jet Jaguar. Um, Getting straight into this thing, it's really fun. I decided to max it day of release. I was done within like fucking with a few breaks, so it would have been like 6 hours of total game time. About 12 hours after the thing released or something. Maybe, in fact, no, it was less than that, I think. But I got it done on the night it released, I guess. And yeah, with my experience with this thing, it is like RPO, but on a whole other level of just bullshittery. It hits nowhere near as hard as RPO, but when you're fighting your opponent, you're just gonna poke them to death. The main attack I use, and in the 1v1 examples, I should probably list this. Uh, the first Kamakras 1v1 we had, or not the first, the one where Drago wasn't rushing, I didn't use Temporal. Temporal is a big must, but you lose it pretty quickly, so you might want to use it to get a big flurry off on your opponent when you get into fights. For combinations, there really isn't any. You're going to be mostly poking your opponent to death, I'm not going to lie. But if you really want to go for one, two, one, and then maybe four, if you're trying to tank, which is a terrible idea with this thing because it's very frail. My build is 2 regen, max damage, and the rest is speed, entirely speed, so that I'm able to get in and out of range very easily. I use this thing pretty similarly to RPO, except from you're not going to be doing the same amount of damage, but your game plan is the same. You're just your job is the same as RPO. You're just achieving it differently. You're prodding and poking at your opponent until they die. So, yeah, whilst RPO, you're keeping distance and doing tons of damage, whereas this thing, you're just slowly, gradually whittling them down. The When you're fighting an SP jet, if you want to use your beam to force it to close distance, if you're something like a Biolante, you can definitely do that. Biolante is a huge counter for this guy. It's so hard to fight a Biolante or a high level Biolante. Muto is another huge counter. If you look at the 1v1, I think it's later in the video, but if you look, Drago's like level 20 and I'm struggling with him. I barely won because Muto is a very hard matchup for SP Jet. That being said, losing your charge can definitely cripple you because you need about 20 charge to use your 2 attack, I think it is. And that's the main attack I'd recommend using. The 1 attack is inconsistent because it has a slash that doesn't have as much range as the slam with the spear. So, yeah. Um, if you're... The main things that I want to get across are you are fucking really frail. Like, your RPO levels of frail. You really can't tank at all. That being said, though, it is really good at maintaining a decent distance where you can land hits on the opponent and they can't hit you. You just poke and prod them to death. Kaiju that can rush you down, like RPO, are definitely going to be huge problems for you if they're good players. Because an RPO can just distance you to death with its flamethrower and salvos. So that's something you really have to watch out for. As for things that you counter, G21 you can fuck up if you play it right. Same with G14, Titanus Behemoth, you can range it to death. Things like fucking Heisei can give you issues, but definitely you can beat them if you're good enough. Normal Jet Jaguar, unironically, it's a pretty close fight, but you can shut them down if you play it right. Because they range with your chop, you range with your stab, and I'm pretty sure your stab has more range, so if you're distance fighting with a jet, just spam your 2. Keep outside of its range where it can hit you, and you'll be fine. But it is really fast. It is pretty quick, dude. And its overall DPS isn't super good, but with Temporal, you can increase your damage on your 2 and just prod people to death. Like, I can't get across how much this thing is a distance fighter. Like, you're mostly going to be wanting to force your opponent to attack and miss. That's mostly what, in pubs anyway, I use my Y to try get the opponent to swing, and then I counter them with my 2. Or my Y? I meant my spin. I don't know why I said my Y, but that's what I do, or at least what I try to do. And that seems to work out pretty well. In 1v1 situations, you're definitely probably going to get pieced up quite a bit. But and to counter SP Jet, beam it, force it to use its thingy beam, and then if you're something like a G14 or G21, just get on top of it, or a Biolante even. Just get on top of it, and you'll beat its ass up, and then just rinse and repeat. Um, Try to let it not range you to death. And if you're being attacked by a jet, there's not much you can do. You can't run at it because it's just going to play its game, back up and counter strike you. You can't run away from it either because it's faster than you, and it's just going to continue to poke and prod at you until you die. So you really have to be quite smart with dealing with them. Going into the water is a huge way to just neuter them entirely because they can't range you in the water. So things like Zora, Manda, Kamibis, those are really strong counters for it. Maybe not Gazora though, because you go on land, you're kind of useless. But yeah, things with pulses also can give it problems if you know that its charge thing, or its a shield rather, is on cooldown. But yeah, that's generally everything. Anyway, to the more important part of the video, I made a Kaiju Universe Discord server just because I thought it would be easier to host than on my main server. Just to do events and stuff like that if people want to get involved with the Mandem, with me and Xeno and stuff. There's an event this weekend called Fight Pit where we go to the hole in the Antarctic and we force people to beat each other up. So if you want to show up to that, you can definitely show up. Just join the server in the description. You don't have to participate. You can spectate if you want, but it is being recorded anyway. So yeah. Anyway, if the people have skipped to the end with SP Jet, just stab at your opponent until they die. Try use your shield smart, not at a distance where you're just gonna get fucking like run down and killed. That's basically it. It's a very simple kaiju, but it's a very fun kaiju. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Join the Discord if you want to. Suck my dick. Subscribe.